Hey everybody, April 5th, 2025. Sorry for the noise in the background, the neighbors working on a project over there. Hey, I'm doing a quick video. I've talked about this plant before on my channel. This is Texas Star Hibiscus. It's a mallow hibiscus, perennial. It actually comes back every year. It'll go dormant in the winter, then come back every year in the spring, bloom in the summer. It's a great plant. It's unique, it's interesting. It's one of my favorites, and it's bulletproof. It's made it through some really hot summers and some really cold winters. What I'm doing today is I have got a project I'm working on for my girlfriend. Her favorite color is pink, so I found this pink pot, and what I'm going to try and do for her is I started these a while back. They're coming up looking nice and healthy. I'm going to try and dig them out of this pot and transplant them to this pot so that I can start her own plant. And I've never done this before, so I'm not real sure how well this plant is going to transplant, but I'm hoping it's going to work out fine. I'm not going to pull all of this out of here. I'm going to pull a few of these out, again, move them to the pink pot, and then get them started in this pot, give it to her, and then at the same time I want to see, first of all, how well does it transplant into a new container, and then how well is it going to adjust once it's been trimmed out of here or cut out of here. Some of them have been taken out of here. So if you're interested in learning more about this plant or seeing how well it holds up to being transplanted to another pot, or maybe divided to where you can start other plants for other people, this is the video for you. So I'm going to start digging this out right now. I'm going to try and do this one-handed, see how it goes, but I'm going to leave, actually I think I'm going to try and get this tall one out. Yeah, maybe I won't. Maybe I'll leave the tall one and get some of these smaller ones because they're probably going to be easier. They're going into a smaller pot, so I think I'd rather take the smaller ones out of here. So as I start digging, I'm not real sure what to expect from a root standpoint. Let's see what we're looking at here. Again, this plant has been pretty forgiving in the past, so I'm hoping it's going to forgive me as I do this. And again, sorry, I'm trying to keep the camera steady and at the same time get deep in here and pull some of these out. Like this one feels like it's broken loose. See, there's very few roots on there, but I'm still going to move it over and we're going to see what happens. I might lose some of these, some of them might take. I'm also going to layer the pot with some seeds and try and get some, to where I've got some that are tall and some that are starting fresh from seeds. Since we're still in spring, I think that's going to work. But I will say this, the root structure is way deeper than I thought it was going to be. But that's okay, we're going to try this. As I'm feeling around in here, I'm feeling something hard. So that's the old growth from maybe last year that I'm feeling there. I'm still going to try and break through this a little bit. Try and keep some of those roots. And again, this might be the wrong way to do this. Maybe it's better to just start this plant by seed every spring and let it go. But I'm hoping when I break these off and separate it, it's going to be able to handle it. I'm just going to break it that way and let's see what happens. So very, very few roots on that, but I see roots. So I'm hoping this is kind of what I need. It gives me something to start in her pot, and then I'm gonna put some soil around it, throw some seeds in there with it, and see if we can get a new plant going here. All right, so now that I've got it out, at least I can show you, and this is what's left in there. So it definitely does continue to put off new growth every season, and it's just building off of the existing old growth in the root ball. So that's kind of what it looks like. But now that I've got what I need, I'm gonna get this in some soil and, get it out of the sun, get it into a nice, partly sunny environment where it's not gonna get too hot or too cold, and just kind of take care of it and let it get re-established in this new pot. So let me move it over to the pot and I'll show you what it looks like. So what I forgot to mention before I put this in the pot is the reason I did this today was, first of all, her birthday was just over a month ago. Again, today's April the 5th. Her birthday was on March the 4th. And so anyway, so I had this started. I wanted to get it, now that it's, it's healthy and it's growing and we're still in spring, get it into its own container for her. But also today the weather's perfect. It's about 70 degrees. It's going to get a little cooler tonight. It's going to stay cool this week. So it's the right time of year, I think, to be transplanting or moving stuff around, because it's still not too hot and it's not too dry. So anyway, all I'm going to do is, I've got a container here. It's got pretty good drainage on the bottom. It's got this little piece. I'm not a big fan of these, but I guess it keeps your soil from washing out. I'm just gonna line this up to where I know even if the soil runs through, I'm gonna get drainage. I don't know if you can see that in there, but I always want one of those holes to be exposed to where, you know, there's just no way this thing can clog. Now, the one thing with Texas Star Hibiscus is I think it's perfectly fine with being wet. It likes a wet, damp soil. You know, they grow in a lot of like swampy areas and that kind of thing. But this is kind of what I want, is I want two of those holes to be open. And then there's another one that you can't see underneath there that'll drain as well. I'm using some good potting mix. This is potting mix that's for container plants. And I'm just going to get some in here. And my hope is that I'm gonna get this put into the new pot. Obviously the plant's gonna be stressed because it just got broken in half and ripped out of the other container where it was growing. But with this rain coming in and these cooler temperatures, or these nice mild temperatures, I'm hoping the plants will be able to, you know, adjust and not have more stress because the weather conditions are so nice. Plus with this being good potting soil, I think that'll help as well because it's got some food in there and some fertilizer. I don't want to plant it too deep because I want to make sure that that plant has plenty of room for the roots to start growing. And this isn't going to be the long-term pot. This pot was more just to get her started with her own plant. And as we see it outgrowing the pot or really getting big, and then we know, you know, it transplanted okay, it's doing good, and obviously it's going to be developing roots. Once that happens, then we'll move it to a bigger container and just keep potting it up as it gets bigger. If you're not familiar with this plant, again, I think it's kind of fun because it's got that marijuana leaf look. So it's unique, it's kind of a conversation piece, but it's worth it once you get it to bloom. When this plant blooms, it's like no hibiscus you've ever seen before. It's really impressive. So all I'm gonna do is, I've got a few different pieces here. I'm gonna try and keep them all together because I want it to grow in the middle of the container like one plant. And this is the part where I'm gonna probably have to put the phone down in order to get the soil around it. But all I'm gonna do is start it all in the middle here, make sure everything's good and centered, and then I'll put the soil around it and pack it in. So let me do that, put the phone down, and I'll show you what it looks like once I've got the soil around it and got it all pushed in. Okay, so this is what the plant looks like now that I've got it in the container all by itself. This is always the part that I'm the worst with. I always try and get it perfectly in the middle. And I think I did pretty well with it. I did not put any seeds around it. I actually want to see how this takes, because as long as it starts growing okay in this container, then I think I would rather have it just start off in the middle, and then it's going to continue to spread every year as new growth comes out and eventually, you know, become a wider plant. But anyway, I just wanted to show how happy it looks right now. I would imagine over the next few days, that's going to change because it's going to be stressed from, you know, getting pulled out and thrown in a new container, new soil, all of that. But right now it looks really happy. Again, I'm not going to put it in full sun. I'm just going to kind of baby it and take care of it over the next few days and see how it does and how it recovers. So I'll continue to monitor the progress on it. One other thing with this plant, I'm hoping for her, there's a white bloom Texas Star Hibiscus, there's a red bloom Texas Star Hibiscus. Normally, if you see these red lines in the leaf, that means that it's a red blooming plant, or it's a red plant. If it doesn't have the red in the leaf, and these are too young to tell, but if you look at the leaf and you're not seeing those red veins going through the middle, it's probably a white bloomer. This one looks like it's got the red, so I'm hoping that's going to be a red bloom. These down here look like they don't. It would be awesome if it's a variety where she gets red and white blooms. But if you're debating between this plant, if you're at a garden center and you see it, you definitely want the red bloomer. To me, it's the more impressive bloom. They're both awesome, but the red, you know, it attracts hummingbirds more and pollinators more, but it's really impressive when it blooms. But anyway, we'll see what happens with this one. I'm hoping I've got her a variety of both colors. But here's what it looks like today on Saturday, the April the 5th, and I'll continue to document it over the next few days and show you how it does. Hey, so it's been 3 days since I separated that Texas Star Hibiscus and put it in this new pink pot. What I wanted to show is now what I'm doing is I'm putting just a regular garbage bag over the top of that pot, and I've got it wrapped around there pretty tight where what I'm hoping is going to happen is we're going to build up kind of a greenhouse effect inside of the bag, and you can kind of see it hopefully in the video where I've got moisture building up in there. I'm not leaving the plant out in full sun. I don't want to stress it out too much, but I don't want the soil to dry out on me, and I want to make sure that plant is still getting some humidity and some moisture, you know, just to keep it happy and to keep this transplant, you know, going strong. You can see in the bag, I can see the green leaves from the plant, so I know it's still upright and, you know, it hasn't wilted or, you know, completely died on me. So I think everything's going good so far. I'm going to leave it like this for a few days, leave it in the sun just for a little while to make sure I see moisture inside the bag, then pull it back into a bright shady area, and then I'll give it a couple more days. We'll take this bag off and see how everything's looking. Okay, so it's Wednesday evening. I pulled this plant out on Saturday. So it's been a few days. I've kept it in this greenhouse environment, this homemade greenhouse environment. I'm going to take this bag off carefully so I don't hit anything. And the plant still looks at least upright and somewhat happy, but at this point I'm going to go ahead and let it stay in open air. I'm not going to put it in direct sun, but I'm going to leave it outside, let it get just the normal humidity and moisture from the air, and keep an eye on it. But as long as everything looks green and upright, I'm just going to let it take off from here. I have a feeling that it's like the transplant shock hasn't really affected it, and the few days in that greenhouse environment has kept it happy. So let's watch it for a few more days and I'll do a follow-up. Okay, so it's April 18th. It's Good Friday. I'm going to give this plant to her later on today. Just wanted to show this Texas Star Hibiscus is doing great. That whole, you know, the way that I transplanted it, it phased the plant for a couple of days. Didn't seem like it was gonna, you know, be very happy or possibly not even make it. But sure enough, it bounced out of it after, you know, probably about 5 days. It started showing signs that it was, you know, getting a little bit happier. And now you can see there's even some new growth coming up off of the top. So very easy plant. You know, growing it by seed. If you can check my channel, I'll even try and link to it, but I did a video about growing this plant from seed. And then, you know, for this video, the point was to show that if you've got an existing one, which this is the one that I took that cutting from, you know, you can just dig in, cut a stalk off of it. And, you know, if you've got some rooting hormone, that would probably be best. Dip it in rooting hormone or just throw it in a container and protect it. You know, don't give it extreme sun. And, you know, just kind of baby it for a few days and it'll be perfectly fine. I'm going to show, I've got a couple more of these Texas Star Hibiscus in this flower bed over here. Here's one of them. You know, the one thing with this plant is if you look at it right now, when the sun is out, it'll droop like it's miserable. You know, when it's hot and it's in the heat, it almost sometimes looks like it's very dry or like it needs water. But as soon as the sun goes down in the evening, it perks right back up and, you know, will be perfectly fine. But I've got it in a container here. I've got another one over here. Just a great plant. Again, it's put up with the most brutal summers you can imagine with very little rain, and it's made it through some really cold winters and hard freezes, you know, all kinds of stuff. I never bring these in. I leave them out year round and they always come back from the roots. So anyway, for the points, or for the purpose of this video, just to wrap up, I just want to show, you know, that when it comes to transplanting it, if you've got one growing and you want to, you know, take some of those stalks off, put them in some other containers and gift them to other people, it's a very easy plant to do that with. So thanks for watching. If you have any questions, feel free to reach out. I'd always be happy to help. And if this video was good or you liked it or you're interested in this kind of thing, please like and subscribe to my channel. I'd really appreciate it. Thanks so much. Hey, have a good Easter weekend. Take care.